Good morning. Today is Wednesday, June 7th, 2023. The beginning of this week's Torah portion, Baloscha, is God commanding Aharon, the first Kohen Gadol, the first high priest, to light the Menorah in the Mishkan, in the sanctuary, and later it would be in the Beit HaMikdash, the Holy Temple in Jerusalem, to light the Menorah every single day. The Menorah, of course, was inside the Heichal, inside the building, and behind the Menorah, just past the Menorah, was the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the Holy of Holies. And our sages ask, what's the connection between this mitzvah of Aharon lighting the Menorah and the end of last week's Torah portion, which was the Nessiim bringing gifts, the 12 princes of the tribes, the prince of each tribe brought a gift, a series of gifts, to dedicate the new Mishkan, the sanctuary, as it was being put into service. And their gifts consisted of a number of items that would be used for offering the sacrifices, the karbanos, the sacrifices. Of course, the sacrifices were offered on the Mizbeach HaChitzon, the outer altar, the altar of copper that was in the courtyard of the Beis HaMikdash, the Mishkan, and later the Beis HaMikdash. So the outer altar was visible to those who were in the courtyard and around the courtyard. Anyone could be there. What happened inside the Heichal, the inner building where the Menorah was, no one else saw that. Only a Kohen was allowed to enter there. So our rabbis ask, what's the connection between these two subjects? Why is one juxtaposed to the other? And our rabbis say, Levisha Kishara Aaron Chanukas Hanasiim Chol Shadaito. When Aaron saw that the princes of each tribe were bringing these magnificent gifts that would enable inaugurating the altar in sacrifices, Aaron felt bad. Amalo HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because Aharon did not participate in bringing gifts for the sacrifices. So he felt bad not to be included. Amalo HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God said to Aaron, Chayecha, I promise you, Aaron, Shelcha Gedola Mishelahem, the mitzvah that you will have is greater than the mitzvah that they have of bringing these gifts. She'ata madlich u'meitiv es haneros, you will be the one to light the menorah every single day. Why is it that lighting the menorah is a greater mitzvah than bringing the gifts to populate the sacrifices on the altar? So there are many answers to this question, and I've shared some of them with you before, but today I want to share an answer given by Rabbi Yaakov Galinsky. Shehar karbanos hayu al hamizbeach hachitzon. The gifts that the princes gave were to effect the sacrifices that took place on the outer altar. Ubepirsum, these gifts were visible. They were public. Everyone who was there could see them. However, v'hahadlaka ne'asasu bifnim, but the lighting of the menorah occurred inside, ubachashoy, hidden from view. What does that mean? Why does that mean that lighting the menorah is greater than the gifts given by the princes? So there are two reasons for this. The first is, the more hidden a good deed is, the more pure it is. A person is not looking for any honor. A person is not looking for any recognition. It is more purely and more clearly l'shem shamayim, for the sake of heaven. Aharon lighting the menorah is not being watched by anyone, is not receiving any glory or honor because of it. No one sees it. and so therefore it's more pure. In other words, it partakes of the character of tznius, of modesty. Tzniut, modesty, is a fundamental value and practice, a hallmark of Judaism. Today, in some parts of the Jewish world, it is being distorted, almost becoming an obsession, exclusively pertaining to standards of a woman's dress and having women remain not only women, but even images of women away from the public sphere. This is not based on classic Jewish sources, and it is, in my opinion, an aberration in our day. Because tznius, the authentic Jewish concept of modesty, applies to everyone, men, women, and children, in every area of life. One of those areas is a woman should dress modestly. But that is a tiny part of the gigantic structure of values and practices indicated by this concept of tznius. And that is that a person should not try to call attention to their superficial self. In dress, in speech, in behavior, in every area of life. Emily Dickinson put it best when she wrote, "Reverse cannot befall that fine prosperity whose sources are interior." That is tznius. Focus on the interior. Focus on the substance, not on the image. A mitzvah that is done in public, where others see, is a mitzvah. It's great. It's wonderful. But a mitzvah that is done in private, that is done where others are not watching, that has a higher level of purity. That has more of a refinement of character, that a person is doing this purely out of love of God, with no ego or attention seeking involved at all. Because only God knows what Aharon did. And that's why Aharon was rewarded with a mitzvah that is a higher level of refinement of character. That's one way to understand this. The second way to understand this, explains Rabbi Galinsky, is that the honor that comes from a public mitzvah, if I do a mitzvah, if I do something good in public and other people see it, and they honor me for it, they respect me, they think highly of me about it, for it, the honor that I receive for something good that I did, that is part of the reward for that mitzvah. And since I am receiving part of my reward in the form of this honor, it will diminish the ultimate reward, which is the spiritual reward in Olam Haba, in the world to come. We understand that the proper and appropriate place for God to reward us for the good deeds that we do is not here in this world. What happens to us in this world is not necessarily a reflection of our behavior, our goodness, or God forbid, lack thereof. It is in Olam Haba, in the eternal world, where the ultimate reward for goodness comes. But if I've received part of it in the form of honor here in this world, it diminishes what I'm going to receive later. And therefore, explains Rabbi Galinsky, a mitzvah that is done in private, where there is no honor, has, excuse me, has all of the reward that I deserve reserved for me and not used up. And Rabbi Galinsky tells the following story about the Chofetz Chaim. We've told many stories about Rabbi Yisrael Meir Kagan of Radin. Now, I want to point out this is a story between the Chofetz Chaim, a man, and a relative of his, another man. So it's being told from one man to a man, which explains some of the language that's going to be used. And I want to suggest to you that this story is an important lesson on many levels. The story goes like this. The Chofetz Chaim, of course, lived in Radin, in Poland, once had to travel to Moscow. For some communal need, it was important for him to travel. And he requested that his trip be secret. He did not want anyone to know that he was arriving. Ordinarily, a person of his stature would arrive in a Jewish community. The whole community would come out to greet him and to honor him. It would be a big deal. But he had relatives in Moscow. And he told his relatives, please, don't tell anyone I'm coming. I want it secret. I want to go quietly from the train station to your house to the meeting I have to go. I don't want anyone to know. So one of his relatives said to him, but why? Why not let other people know? I mean, give people the opportunity to show honor to the Torah. Okay, so you don't want honor. I understand that. But they want to honor the Torah. You are a Torah leader. Why should they not be able to have the opportunity to honor a Torah leader like yourself? So the Chofetz Chaim answered with the following. He said, tell me, my friend. He said, your wife, on Friday, does she make kugel for Shabbos? This man says, of course. My wife makes kugel on Friday for Shabbos. The best kugel in the world. Chofetz Chaim says to him, and if you were to say to your wife on Friday, the kugel that you just made, it smells so good. I know you made it for Shabbos, but could I have a piece now? What would your wife say to you? Well, my wife would say to me, listen, I made it for Shabbos. If you eat part of it now, you will have less when Shabbos comes. The Chofetz Chaim explained the reward that we will receive in the world to come is like Shabbos. Our sages tell us as a metaphor that a person should work during the week in order to be able to enjoy Shabbos. And that's a metaphor for our physical lives, so to speak, during the week. And Shabbos, me'ein olam haba, which is like a view of the world to come. But if you take part of the kugel on Friday, you're going to have less on Shabbos. If part of the mitzvah that you do, you take the reward in the honor that you receive, you will have left less to receive when it matters most. It's an important lesson on many levels. It's nice to have kugel on Friday, but maybe it's better to wait until Shabbos. My friends, I want to wish you a great day, and I look forward to seeing you soon in person.